Kyle here from allmusic-reviews.blogspot.com. Didn't do a video yesterday. I was off. We were running into some stuff with our cats. And just schedule on Friday didn't work out either because of, again, schedule, so life happens, even though I was working Friday, but I won't go into detail, but not the whole time. So today I'm just doing Marillion Tuesday, would have been Marillion Monday, or would have been Marillion Friday actually. And I think just to kind of expedite it, I'm going to try to do as many of these as I can. I'm only going to do probably one a day, but over the X number of days, weeks, just to get these done, because I only got 7 left, I think. So, and they did announce, I should mention that, they did announce today that the new album's coming out next year, and sort of to try to make a fun deal with it, they're releasing the title of the album. It's number 20, which include Friends with an Orchestra and Less is More as a proper. It's really the 18th. Anyway, they did something where they put a letter combination AHBID Marillion, and those are the 5 letters that compose the album title, I believe, in that order. And so they're having people guess, and then if they get it right, then they get tickets to the tour coming up, which, given I live in Minnesota in the USA, in the USA, kind of is a moot point. But I still wouldn't mind winning. But I don't know, I was thinking the A might stand for Anorak, but there's been some pretty good, funny guests. Lucy Jordash has said that some of the guests have been pretty close. So anyway, but yeah, I'm going to do number, whatever, the 12th one or whatever this is. The 1997 album, This Strange Engine, from Marillion, was released April 21st, 1997. I have a lot of memories with this record, and like Rush's counterparts in 1993 in a way, this is the first proper studio album that Marillion released that after I became a fan. Here's the CD. Yeah, I'm hope for the future. So, it's kind of one of those albums that when I first heard it, and I remember reading about this, that was the spring of 97, because I ordered it, I think. I don't know. All I know is that when I got it, I was like in love with it. I thought, oh, this is amazing. This is why I think this band is my favorite band, or I love this band, Marillion. And I always think of, for some reason, Jim Matheos, and it was around this time, might have been a little before, a little bit after. I should look that up, actually. I think it was actually before that, Pleasant Shade of Grey came out, but I learned that Jim Matheos from Fates Warning was a Marillion fan, and then I started deciding to put pieces together that why I like Fates Warning and why I like Marillion and Dream Theater and Rush. I mean, those bands are all connected in different ways. Prog rock of sorts, heavy prog rock, prog metal, of their period of time, the 80s and 90s. And Fates Warning, I heard more in Fates Warning's music from that point on, especially going forward, that really reminded me of Marillion. There's a lot of differences from Fates Warning's sound, but even the whole first singer thing, the fact Fates Warning's original singer left after 3 albums in the 80s, just like Marillion's original singer left after 4 albums in the 80s. There's a lot of parallels, and I can see why Jim Matheos was a fan. I'm not sure if the guys in Marillion are even much of fans or aware of Marillion, of Fates Warning. It'd be interesting to ask them. But so as far as this album goes, though, I like Man of a Thousand Faces. I've always liked the opening track. It's 7 minutes. It's kind of a multi-part piece. Nice dynamics. Estonia, very sad. Although it's not a song I like get a ton from melodically, but it's emotionally that, sort of when someone passes away, someone dies that it's a song that I've thought of. They play it and they dedicate it live to people. I get that. It's a little bit like Kevin Gilbert's Song for a Dead Friend. I understand why it's so emotional, but I don't weep during it because I don't know if the melodic part of it doesn't resonate as much with me, but I still enjoy it. I still appreciate it, but not on the same level that some people do. Okay, so An Accidental Man would be the other sort of go-to track on this one. I like that. So I don't love it, but I like it enough. And then, of course, the title track, which when I first heard this record in 97, I thought was phenomenal. I probably thought this might be their best piece they've ever written. You know, even though I didn't even, at that point, I probably hadn't even heard every record they had done. And I also think that you look at their catalog, there really weren't a lot of epics. As much as they were a progressive rock band, quote unquote, other than Grendel, I don't know if they had actually released any song that was longer than maybe about 12 minutes. Some longer pieces, and the thing is, this Strange Engine, the title track, is only about 15 minutes. The last like couple of minutes, it goes silent, and then there's this little piano part with Hogarth laughing and stuff like that. I forgot about that listening to that again today. But I think, like, I loved it, and then they played it live a lot, and I hate to say it, but I kind of, not that I didn't enjoy it, but a little bit like Yes's Awaken. When I first heard Awaken from Yes, I loved it, and then I just kind of got not annoyed by it, but got sick of it. Now, listening to it again today, I think it has still enough moments that are magical. I just think maybe part of it's unfair. You think about the stuff they've done, the epics they've written since, and I think those epics are better. So almost like they kind of perfected what they did. I mean, it's a great piece. It's somewhat about, I guess, Hogarth's experience growing up with his father, who was, in the military, and he was in the Navy, and, away at times, and he came back in sort of a blue-collar life. This working on the railroad, working on a train, this Strange Engine talks about a train itself. I mean, it has some really nice moments, some dreamy moments, some Pink Floyd-y moments. But I don't, it's not fair to think at the time, I didn't really think of it that way, but I think over time, and has held up in a sense, I think they one-upped it, two-upped it, three-upped it with some of the epics that they wrote after it. The rest of this record, One Fine Day, 80 Days, Memory of Water. Memory of Water is just like a cappella almost piece. It's just basically Hogarth with some keys, if I'm not mistaken. It's really slow. And Hope for the Future sounds like something on Fantasy Island, or like they're going to Hawaii, but it's not Peter Gabriel, Hawaiian influence music, or whatever, ethnic. It's just sort of happy-go-lucky, let's celebrate, have a party kind of thing. A message of hope. I always thought the song was called Message of Hope, but here's the booklet. Now I have the vinyl, too, I can show. So this is definitely a record that, while you think about their whole catalog and when it was released in 1997, the previous albums, I mean, Marillion almost had a winning streak, really a long winning streak. I mean, I look at, Holidays in Eden more favorably now than I used to, and even Fugazi to an extent. But other than those two, every record has just so much to it that I love. Obviously, Brave and Afraid of Sunlight, Clutching at Straws, Misplaced Childhood, and even the debut album, Script for Jester's Tear. I can understand why a bunch of the percentage of fans kind of jumped ship, and it wasn't as prog. This Strange Engine is prog, Man of a Thousand Faces is kind of proggy, but as a whole, it's more like they're doing kind of, I don't say they're influenced by Britpop, but they were doing more pop rock on this. And then, of course, the following album, they did a lot of that, but I think that album has aged better in some ways than this Strange Engine. A lot of people feel the opposite. I actually think, and I have it, I may talk about it in a different video, the Positive Light album actually is more interesting to listen to in a lot of ways now. I remember feeling that way over 10 years ago, like, this is weird, but I actually think I have reason to, I get more in the mood to listen to it. So I mean, this Strange Engine is an album I still like, but, and when it came out, even after the few albums that came out after it, I probably rated them, I rated it higher. Here's the vinyl. Got this a few years back. I still like it, but I think, I don't know, I guess there's definitely a departure. This is the last album they released on, or the first album they didn't release on EMI, so it's their first independent release in effect. It was a whole big deal about when they released this album to tour the U.S., they had the crowd help fund their ability to not lose money and come over here. Thick black pressing. Blue. Also, the other thing about the title track, maybe the whole concept, but I think this is exactly a concept album. It's just the epic, whatever, 15-plus minute, in effect, title track. I get a similar vibe in a sense, not nearly as dark, from Pink Floyd's The Wall. The whole sort of biographical, the biographical experience of growing up as a boy. Hogarth was kind of channeling, and I know John Helmer wrote some of the lyrics in this album. I don't know if he wrote any of the lyrics on the Port Today. Yeah, I also think that what they did with like Ocean Cloud and some of the other songs that sort of tell a tale, just again they one or two upped it. But I think that I always have sort of had I've been reminded of Roger Waters' sort of experience writing the lyrics and the story to the wall in a way to what Hogarth did with The Strange Engine. There's a similar dynamic. I mean, again, it's not as dark, but the title track, The Strange Engine. And, you know, if I'm choosing my favorites, the best song, it's probably still that title track. But, you know, it's weird because when this album came out, I thought, well, you know, I think of the albums in the 90s from Marillion. Well, I don't put it in the same category as Brave or Afraid of Sunlight. You know, spoiler alert about rankings coming up soon. I always liked it. I always thought this is still a very good album, even though they did it on an independent label. You know, I thought, well, it's still Marillion, but I can understand why it really has like it's two-side or uneven in a sense of that it's a bunch of sort of shorter, safer, less adventurous tunes. Now, I think, again, the subsequent albums, they did some more poppier, you know, accessible tracks that offered more or just ended up holding up better. It sounded a little more modern in a way. I don't know. It sounds very 90s. If they wrote an album like this today, I don't think it would sound exactly like this. So in a way, this album, it sounds weird, but it sounds a little of its time. It's a little more dated than some of their albums, so... But it's still a good album. I just, you know, unfortunately, unlike some of the records where it kind of was, I liked it from the get-go, a lot of these albums were, like, Radiation was sort of and then it's sort of gone up and, you know, it's kind of gone the opposite. But, I don't know, I still enjoy, I mean, I think I enjoy This Strange Engine more. I'm not sure, everyone loves that track live, and I think they did it with Friends with the Orchestra. And, it, you know, the string section in it does really... suggest or lend to be performed with a string section live. You know, and there's just some other parts. There's some other parts in that but I don't know. I was like, I've seen them play this. I think I saw them play it twice or three times in Chicago live, and so I'm like, never seen them play like off of Radiation, A Few Words for the Dead or stuff like that. But you know. What can you do? I understand why people still love that track. I don't know if they have an appreciation as much for the rest of the record. I don't even know how often they play Man of a Thousand Faces. But it was a huge staple on that tour. I remember getting some bootlegs, and that was ever on every one of those sets. So, anyway, Marillion fans, what's your take on This Strange Engine? Is it still one of your favorites? Is it one of the more better Hogarth records? Or is it you kind of have the feeling that it was better at the time it came out, or you never were into it? Like I said, This Strange Engine, the title, I think of it largely for the title track as much. In fact, if they had just released the title track as like a single EP, I don't know how much different I would rate it. I would think of that as like one release, one album, and that would be it. Because I don't go back to the other songs as much as just that one song. If I were just coming up with a list of favorite, I should do a list of favorite 30, 40. I did on my blog. I don't think This Strange Engine even made it because they have so many other songs, including epics, that I just have always, you know, gone back to. So I feel bad for kind of feeling that way and saying that about this record, about this band, but you know what? I still prefer this album over hordes of other records from other bands just because it's my favorite band, so I have a bias. But thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.